normal?
Yeah, this is better. This is better.
This is better?
Yes, this is better.
Try it. Let me one more time. How was this?
This is better, yeah.
This is good? Okay, I'll leave it alone. I won't do anything. All right, are we live here?
Yes.
All
Right
right.
now we are live. Alhamdulillah. Bismillah.
MashaAllah.
Sounds good.
Yes, could you kindly allow me to share the screen so I can...
Sure. I will do that. We'll do that.
Thank you.
Okay, Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum, everybody, whoever watching. So we are introducing Jum'ah Gems from this Friday, 11 a.m. Toronto time. It's going to be 30-minute sessions usually. And the idea is to help and to share with the fellow Muslim entrepreneurs, investors, and startups the things that we don't actually learn at school. We have to learn in the school of life. So one of the things that's very crucial, everybody knows, is the mindset, how you think. And speaking of that, today we are starting with that, and everything starts in the dialogue. That's why I have this brother Muhammad Hassan. He's a communication expert. Assalamu alaikum, brother Muhammad. Welcome.
Wa alaikum assalam wa barakatuh, Brother Maruf. Jazakallah khair for the opportunity.
So it's a pleasure. So today, I know the sessions are very small. The format goes like in first 15 minutes, we'll share the idea. In the next 15 minutes, we'll open for questions, Q&A. Any questions you might have, we are here to support you. So having said that, should we get started?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, give me one moment and I'll get this started.
Yes.
Great.
So these sessions, especially communication sessions by Kalam, who's the founder of a brother Muhammad. So it's going to be 12 sessions. So to give you an idea, the first four, so we have divided the communication to 3 different streams. First 4 session, it will be inner dialogue, your communication with yourself, how you talk to yourself, how to elevate yourself internally. And the next 4 session, it will be your communication with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how to talk to your creator, the one above you. And the last 4 session is going to be about how you communicate with others, right? Other people, your family members, your kids, and the greater community. Having said that, I don't want to take more of your time. Go ahead, Brother Muhammad. Let's start with the session 1.
All right, Jazakallah khairan. So it's Jummah. You know, Jummah, the best day of the week. What better day than to grab some gems of wisdom for us to implement in our daily life? And so without further ado, here we go. As Brother Maruf mentioned, it's a 12-week series. So if we stick with this, you're going to pick up communication gems that will help you achieve whatever you want to achieve in life. I'm sure you can agree with me that amazing communication abilities will definitely be an asset for you in whatever you want, like in terms of your personal relationships, professionally. All it is just a little steady by steady, you know, things will snowball quickly when you look at things and pick up these gems along the way on Jummah especially. So, alhamdulillah, let's dive into it today. Now, the agenda, we're going to start off with the whole definition of what your inner dialogue really means. It might mean different things for different people, but just to make sure we're all on the same page, we want to make sure that we all agree on the same idea. Secondly, we're going to be diving into the whole Quran and Sunnah, having discussion about it, especially, mashallah, as Muslims. What better way than to draw the source than the divine source, right? With the Quran and the Sunnah of our Messenger Rasulullah and the Quran. People talk about using the Quran and the Sunnah, but there's this bridge that still, at least until today, as far as I can see, isn't being connected. How does revelation connect to reality? And we're going to bridge that gap here today. Last but not least, if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to engage in dialogue. If you see the recording of this, or if you're here right now on live, by all means, more than happy to jump in and go for it. So without further ado, your inner dialogue. So what is inner dialogue? So many people, if you look at Ask Psychologists, people in the field of psychiatry, or maybe just people generally speaking, they might think that, well, inner dialogue's where I talk to myself. Maybe, that's one way you can interpret it. And the way I like to look at it is very simple. It's private speech that develops who you are. Now, let me break that down for a moment. It's private. It's not something public. It's inner. You know, you can't hear your thoughts. And thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the ability that we're unable to hear other people's thoughts. Can you imagine just sitting in your household, that if you have your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, whoever, you can hear what they're thinking all the time. You might think it might be worthwhile, but you know, be
You
careful
become
what you wish
crazy.
for. Yeah, you could be careful what you wish for, right? So the fact that it's private, it's inner. There's things that each of us have. But the second piece is a little more interesting. It develops who you are. You know, we're all shaped by our identity. We're all shaped by what we think we like, who we think we are. You know, if you feel like I'm a really strong person, chances are you're going to behave in ways that a strong person would behave. If you feel like you're weak, if you feel like, oh, I can't do it, or I'm just a, just a woe is me, are you going to take a lot of action? Probably not. So our identity is like that guiding ship that will steer us in where we
One
want to
thing,
go, right?
absolutely, one thing I heard recently was just, I think, so profound. It says, you will never raise above your story. Story is not just Instagram story we're talking about. It's a story that, like your life story. Who do you think Muhammad is? Who do you think Maruf is? Who do you think Abdullah or Fatima is? You have this vision, you will never raise above your story, is that whatever you believe will come true, but you will not go beyond it, probably below it, right? So the question is, how do we shape that story, the best story for you, isn't it?
Exactly. Right. Well, that's a nice way to put it. So the thing is that some people think it's like a massive Hollywood moment, but the fact of the matter is, it's the little things that add up. You know, as they say, you can sit on a mountain, but you can't sit on a pin. It's the little things that really will take shape. And that's where it all starts with the inner dialogue. So here's a quick exercise, and this is for anyone who's watching this. This is something that I would invite you to participate in. Because, for me, one of the things I don't like to just talk about theory. How does it immediately demonstrate into practice that you can apply right here, right now? So, Brother Maruf, I invite you to try this out yourself. So, if you can close your eyes for a moment, just for a moment, I promise, nothing fishy. Here it goes. Now, imagine you're going on a trip. Let's say a trip to Europe. Pick your favorite country. Let's say you're scheduled to go on a trip next week. What is your knee-jerk reaction to that? What's the first thing you think of? I mean, when you say that you're going on a trip, soak it in, take it in. First thing. All right, for those of you watching this later on, or if you're watching with us right now, same idea. You have a trip, what is it going to be? All right, okay, open up. So, Brother Maruf, if I can ask you, what's your initial reaction to the fact that you're going on a trip to Europe next week?
Adventure. I wanted to go Italy, Tuscany and all those villages to see the nature.
MashaAllah, adventure. So you're adventurous in Italy. Hey, the Leaning Tower of Pisa and all that good stuff. Amazing. So you can already, based on this little quick exercise, you can start to see already where your mind is going. You went towards possibility right here. Nothing, again, we didn't pre-plan this or anything of that nature. You already went towards that. Sometimes, if you do this exercise with other people, they might think of all the potential roadblocks. Oh, I got to wait in line in the airport. Oh, man, the flight for the airplane is going to be terrible. Oh, I'm going to be sitting next to somebody. Maybe I don't have enough money to get through this. Or, maybe chances are I don't know the culture. And so some people naturally gravitate towards the adventurous opportunity side, and some people gravitate towards the negative side, or what are the roadblocks. Now, just based on this small example alone, I'm sure you can connect the dots yourself. Look back in your life. Where do you see yourself? When a new opportunity presents itself, do you run towards it or do you run away from it? And it all shapes in your inner dialogue. You didn't verbalize it. You didn't start talking out loud. So this is one little thing here. You can see how this takes shape. But how does it actually go from thoughts to actions? I found this little graphic. It's really fun. I think you're gonna check this out. So everything begins with a thought. And in this example, it's about exercise. I'm sure you've heard it more times than ever in your, over and over again, you gotta exercise. Exercise is healthy for you. You gotta make sure that you exercise. I'm sure this is something that's all over the place. But the first thought, let's say, starts off with, it's too hard to exercise. If you ever worked out, Brother Maruf, have you ever had those moments where you're just
You feel like
pumping?
you don't win anything, right? You're just really exhausted.
Yeah, so if you're pumping iron or you're doing that, it's too hard. It's not fun. It's not relaxing. So then that thought eventually leads to a feeling. Well, I don't really like the feeling of things being too hard, or it's not really great, it's not fun. So then as a result of that feeling, what's the action? Well, I'm going to go take a nap. It's not, I don't want to think even about the whole idea of exercise. And then at last but not least, the result, you're not getting in shape. Now you can see as how this accumulates over time. The thought leads to the feeling leads to the action then leads to the result. Now, if we were to flip this, Brother Maruf, I know, mashallah, you already went towards the adventurous side in the whole Italy trip. How can we flip this, in your opinion, on a positive note? Let's
So
just use this. Yeah.
absolutely. So one of the things, examples we can give here is, I guess, one of the things I'm really interested in the human psychology, why we do what we do, and this is especially the habits. One thing I learned about habits is that when we say do exercise, it's too general. It's like there's so many things. Instead, for me, I was in this. I was the guy who was in this thing. I would say I need to do something, but I end up doing anything. But when you actually look into details, go back to the details and start tiny. So this is called tiny habits. Those who didn't read the book, read the book. I loved so much, actually learned and became certified coach in tiny habits as well. So the way it starts like this. First thing, you have to think of, okay, if I'm going to do the exercise, what exercise is going to be? Is it going to be running? Is it going to be swimming? Is it going to be walking? Is it going to be something else? It's not general. Just choose a couple of and test one by one. For me, it was not running. It was not going to the gym. I didn't like the idea. However, walking was interesting for me. Walking, it worked for me. So when I started walk slowly, like 100 steps a day, 1,000 steps. Now, for the last 3-4 years, I've almost walked every day 10,000 steps. Does it make sense? So it's a very tiny habit. I mean, I believe everybody has their own thing. And if the person finds that, start small, do it consistently, it becomes I think that the Robin Sharma says you need 66 days to build a habit into automaticity. Some people say it's 30 days. In any case, whatever you find, start small. Like in my case, it was walking. I started walking slowly. To be honest, the first time I walked, it was not for the sake of walking, but my son was playing the Pokemon Go and he the companion. So that's how we started. Then after a while, he stopped playing, but I said, I have to choose. Either I stop or I'm going to do something. So I wasn't playing Pokemon. So another gem here is that whenever you are doing a habit, for example, in my case, it was walking. Sometimes people ask me, Maruf, how do you go out and walk in this, especially in Canada now, that the weather is getting worse. There's wind, there's sometimes rain. The key is not about walking. I mean, I don't wake up and say, I'm going to walk 10,000 steps a day. No, for me, it's about the meaning. The meaning for me is when I'm actually going out to walk an hour, maybe an hour and a half, for me, it's like my personal time, my personal meditation, my personal reflection, right? And I listen to audiobooks and I listen to podcasts. I am doing my daily, I've combined a couple of things together. So for me, it's like a must. For me, like it's just getting the, out of all this daily noise, daily things, taking my stillness time, thinking about the things happening. So you know what I'm saying? It's about the meanings you give to that exercise, to the thing. Once you combine a couple of things together, it almost becomes like irresistible habit to have. So that is the key. Instead of from general, go to specific and test on yourself and start small. That's what I would do.
Very fascinating. There you go. So it's the same thing. It's exercise, but you flip it around and turn it around in a new light. So similarly, if we were to just go through this little quick thing with using the same example of exercise, instead of saying it's too hard to exercise, maybe we can say exercise will make me healthy. Exercise is going to keep my body running. As I say,
Absolutely.
you take care of your body will take care of you. And exercise
Internal
will be
dialogue.
internal dialogue. So let's look at put positive associations with exercise. And like you said, start specific. We're not saying go lift 100 pounds right off the get-go, or start running 1,000 miles right from the beginning. But the thoughts, like the association with exercise, it's not pain, no gain. Think about the gain. Then the feeling is, all right, now I'm getting stoked. Let's get excited. Let's get this pumped up. And I'll tell you, for those of you who really go to the gym regularly, especially when it comes to, let's say, building muscle. You'll know the feeling of the burn. You know, you love that feeling, especially with biceps, especially with guys. I noticed that with they stare in front of the mirror and they just like pump the biceps, and they love the feeling of, oh man, the feeling of my biceps are growing. And then that will lead to the action, which is continuously more exercise. And at the end, you get the results. Lo and behold, as time accumulates and you do the right diet and sleep and all of that, you're gonna see results. So see how you just flip it. But like Brother Maruf said, it's all about the meaning you give to it. But it all starts with a thought. It all starts in here. All right. So now, having said that, how does this relate to the Quran and the Sunnah, the Prophet ﷺ, right? So let's start with the Quran. You know, a lot of times people might, you know, for us, at least as Muslims, one of the most explicit things that deals with this head on is shaitan's waswasa. You know, you heard of the concept of, you know, shaitan's whispering into your thoughts and, you know, sometimes guiding you or influencing you in a certain way. The one thing I would offer right from the get-go is that this is not new. This is very, very old. This plan has been here from the beginning, the time of Adam alayhi salam. If you're familiar with the origin story, Adam alayhi salam even tempted Adam alayhi salam, our father. Shaitan tempted Adam alayhi salam even then. Look what he says. And this is from the clear Quran by Dr. Mustafa Khattab. Then the Satan instigated him. He said, Adam, shall I guide you to the tree of eternity and to an empire that does not decay? So right from the get-go, if we were to say that, you know, these inner thoughts or these bad thoughts or these thoughts are challenging thoughts, we'll never get rid of it. If we know that this has been here since our father, then, I mean, like, you can say, all right, we know that knowing is half the battle here. But luckily, and alhamdulillah, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's grace and wisdom, gave us a plan. How do you combat this? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says again in the Quran, particularly about shaitan. You know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, the Most High says, verily, shaitan is your enemy. So take him as an enemy. He only calls his followers to become inhabitants of the blazing fire. Now, what do I mean by this, and how is this related to you and I? You see, we're always, I don't know about you, but I've always been taught, treat others as you want to be treated. You want to do good, don't do no harm. Make sure that you are in good spirits with pretty much everyone, right? But here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes an explicit order for you and for me and for Muslims, for the believers, to say, take shaitan as your enemy. When you take someone as an enemy, the first thing you need to know is what's their strategy. You need to know what is the thing. Shaitan is out to get you and me. The bane of his existence is for you and I to end up in Jahannam. I mean, don't make dua for shaitan. Don't do that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that it's over. Like he's a lost cause. Shaitan is a lost cause, and shaitan is trying every single second until your last breath, until my last breath, to get us off the path. So the solution, at least to overcome a lot of these negative thoughts, is to first recognize that shaitan is your enemy. Recognize it. Don't play around with it. Don't be lackadaisical about it. Willy-nilly. It's shaitan's your enemy. So take him as enemy. So study shaitan's strategies. Overcome it. And Brother Maruf, what do we say before every surah we recite? Minash shaitanir rajim. Exactly. So why is that built into it? Because no matter what, it's always like these forces are coming in and shaitan is influencing us. But at the end of the day, at least if we know that shaitan is the source of a lot of these problems, then we can say, all right, how we can overcome it.
Here's a quick thought about inner dialogue. Since we're talking about inner dialogue. So I think the first thing everybody should do is that, since we are aware of these thoughts, the first thing is one of the beautiful things I read recently was that listen to our thoughts. Just listen. Don't ignore them. Some people say, oh, don't listen to our negative thoughts. No. Every thought is okay. You just listen. If the bad thoughts come, imagine you're looking at the cloud and the sky and just passing by. If the bad thought, okay, that is a very gloomy cloud. Okay. I don't have to take action, but I see it's going on. And then there's a good thought, right? A white, beautiful, perfect cloud. Oh, that's the one. Good. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us, I think, there are a lot of things we don't have freedom on. For example, where I was born, to what family I was born, what race and what gender, I have no choice. I just get to live with it, what I have. However, I believe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the freedom of will to everyone. It doesn't matter where you are. Maybe you are in freedom, living is the way you like, or maybe you are in a free prison, like Yusuf alayhi salam was. However, how you interpret that, how you make a meaning, it's up to you. You can be, there are people who are in the prison, but they are free. And there are people who are living in the freedom, but they are in a prison. Metaphorical prison. They're prison of their thoughts, prison of this and that. So the idea is, it's up to you. So whenever the shaitan is doing his waswasa and saying all these bad things, you just listen. Okay, that's good. And the question you ask, is it true though? For some people might say, oh, I am lazy, I never get things done. And the question is it true? Is it true that you never did anything? And you will find out it's not true. So yeah, sometimes you may have failed, but sometimes you did succeed. And this is the things like evil thoughts will keep coming, and we open the door, we accept them as a truth, which is not the case. The question is, first of all, remember there are good thoughts and there are bad thoughts. They are clouds in the sky. And which one you take them on, which one you act upon, will define where you go, will define your story. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us that freedom. That's your freedom. You have to claim it. You have to use it. Don't be the victim of saying, oh, whatever comes is true. It's not true. It's just assumptions. Thoughts are coming to your mind. You have to know the difference. And there's another good saying that I learned that says, there are two hungry wolves fighting against inside. This is just symbolizing these thoughts. And the guy that says, oh, which one is going to win? That says, whichever you feed the most, right? If it's a good thoughts you're feeding the most, it's going to win. So your actions, your thoughts, and will reflect upon that and moving forward. So the key is, I guess, to acknowledge that there are good thoughts and bad thoughts. You don't have to jump on them right away. That's why taking a time off, 15 minutes, even half an hour on a daily basis and say, what's happening with me today? What things could I have done better? What things did I do better? And how we can improve even better. That's exactly, inshallah, we'll go to. And then later things we call the infinite game, which you can improve. That you can try to be a better person today than you were yesterday. But I don't want to take more of your time. But that's the idea, isn't it? Inner dialogue, and be mindful where they're coming from, which one to listen to.
You're right, mashallah, in the sense that because thoughts can be, it's not it's not good or evil, only thinking makes it so, right? So you got to be on guard at all times. And likewise, again, circling back to the whole idea, take shaitan as an enemy. So you got to be on guard. You have to be aware. Like you have to say, all right, someone says something to you, and as they say, misery loves company. So that thought will be accompanied with another thought, and it'd be a never-ending vicious cycle. So some people might get triggered by a certain thing, and we have the freedom to choose and dismiss certain things. We can accept it. A thought comes into our mind. We can look at it and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking of. I can choose to keep it or dismiss it. Sometimes it might be easier to just accept it and just keep going and wallowing in our own misery. But at the same time, if we remember that shaitan is out there solely to get through this, like to break you and I down, saying, all right, well, I'm worth it. Like I'm not, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevated me above angels. I have the potential above angels. I'm one of the greatest creations. Not saying this out of arrogance, we're saying this out of honor and humility.
There's a potential there.
Exactly, there's potential there. So this gift of life is not to be taken for granted. And so that's one thing. But having said that, we also want to come to a beautiful advice from the Prophet ﷺ, especially related to this topic. And a side note, one of the most remarkable things about this religion, about Islam, I find, is how detailed it is in every single facet of life. There's no stone left unturned. Everything that you can ever imagine, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addressed it, either in the Quran or you'll find in the Sunnah. MashaAllah. And so what is the specific advice about thoughts? Look at what Rasulullah reassured us. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us among those who are considered to be part of his ummah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive my ummah, the followers, for whatever crosses their minds, so long as they do not speak of it or act upon it. So hit the pause button here. Things cross your minds, just like what Brother Maruf said, right? Things come and go. There's a cloud, or there's, let's just say, an evil thought comes into play. All right. So whatever crosses your mind, as long Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is merciful enough, I remember at the very beginning I said, thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we don't have the ability to think about or hear what other people's inner thoughts are. Sometimes if you look at someone and you hear their inner thoughts, you might be so repulsed by them that you would never want to deal with them. What on earth? This person's thinking like this? Oh, no way. But look at the mercy out of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Rasulullah is highlighting here. As long as you don't speak about it or act upon it. Why is that the case? When you keep talking about something over and over and over and over again, isn't it in your mind at all times? If you keep talking about, I got to get the latest Nintendo game, the latest Nintendo game, the latest Nintendo. Again, not knocking against Nintendo, but if that's constantly on your mind over and over again, eventually you don't think the idea will pop up. Maybe I should go get that system. I should go buy it. So the key here is that imagine that in the reverse, if something is negative, right? Well, look at where, does it not fall into the same little framework here? The thought ends up leads to a feeling, which leads to an action, which leads to a result. So Rasulullah is saying, as long as you don't speak about something, you will not act upon it, right? And so the more that it's good to talk about certain things. Yes, we're not saying to bottle things up, or if you have an inner thought that's really outrageous and it's really causing you harm, that not to go seek help or professional help. That's not what it is. But if there's some random thoughts coming in and here and there, and as long as you have the ability to control it and dismiss it by learning the appropriate tools and strategies, Rasulullah saying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive you for it. Some people, and you see it, you might have our brothers and sisters, they feel guilty, they feel dirty, they feel like, oh my God, I can't believe I even thought of something like this. I'm Muslim. How could I think of something that's so horrendous? And so here's the reassurance of Allah from Rasulullah saying that as long as you don't speak of it or act upon it, you're going to be okay. Thoughts come and go. Learn to control that.
And I think there's a similar hadith, but on the other side, if you intend something good, it's a written something for you. But if you act upon, then there's more, isn't it?
Yes, exactly.
So intentions depends. I mean that's the beauty of Islam, right? If you intend something bad, nothing's written on you until you act upon it. Right? But if you intend something good, you already written something for you. If you actually do it, it gets even more. Isn't it beautiful?
This is mercy. It does, in a logical sense, you would think that through pure logic, it makes, if I think of something good and act good, you get the reward. If I think of something wrong and I act wrong, it should be the same, right? Same style. But look at how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes away as long as you don't act upon it. Because thoughts can only consume maybe the individual. When you start affecting other people, that's when things get problematic. And what kind of a world would we be in if people just learn to control this, like the inner thoughts, the gatekeeping, so they don't do things they regret. So I'll leave you with this last parting thought here, is that you are what you think. My brothers and my sisters, you are what you think. Just as if you eat junk food day in and day out, don't be surprised when your arteries get clogged up. Don't be surprised if you break the scale if you keep eating junk food over and over and over again. Similarly, if you and I keep thinking about negative thoughts, how do you expect to have a positive life? If we keep feeding our brains with things that I can't do this, there's no way this is possible, I can't believe this is not for me, or this is that, like, you are what you think. And believe me, your thoughts are more powerful than you can imagine. It's built into our deen, it's built into our life, and believe me, if you mastered this in the very beginning, life will be so much more worthwhile. And so with that concludes this particular session. I want to keep it short and sweet. Hopefully you picked up gems along the way for those who tune in. And next week, we would invite you to have our new session, which is befriending your inner critic. It's actually, Brother Maruf, he highlighted a bit of that. Like people say, oh, I can't, if there's a certain thought, I can't get rid of it, or why I should think about it. How do you use it to your advantage? How do you use it to your advantage? How do you befriend your inner critic And so before I reveal the last part about kalam, is there questions and answers available, or
So
at
let
this?
me see. I think we are a bit over time, but I will check if there are any questions. So far, I don't see any questions. That's okay. So one thing I want to mention to end this is, so what we are doing is, as mentioned from now on, we'll be doing like 12 sessions. So first session is done. One thing I really, because these sessions are very going to be shorter, as you can see, 15, 20 minutes. And this session is also general, right? Um, we don't know who will be watching this right now, who watching this and who will be watching the future as well. For those of you who really want to go deeper, even on this topic, like inner dialogue, and what Brother Muhammad is offering, like a free session, you can get on a call, no strings attached, it's free. Just get on a call, and he'll walk you through, and most importantly, he'll walk you through what it means to you. Because sometimes when we talk in general, it's general, right? If you want to do it like on a personal note, book a time with him, like 30 minutes from his time. Thanks to him, like he's offering is a free of charge. You can talk to him, and like if there's something you want to do, you can explore later. But for this, it's going to be free, 30-minute session to get to know yourself, your inner thoughts, your story. That's the offer. The address is kalam.ca/free. And we might as well share the link, on the description of the live, or the even on YouTube as well, if you're putting on YouTube as well, so people can easily find it. So these are our closing sessions. Do you have anything else to add today?
No, Hamza, just to echo the sentiment for the free session, the good news is it's virtual, so no geographical barriers. All you need is a Zoom account. And you never know. Sometimes some people, the good thing about customization and what's really meant for you, on the one side, you might think to yourself that maybe my issue is communicating with others. How do I communicate with others in a better way? But if we were to dig deeper, perhaps it could be that it's actually your inner thoughts that might need tweaking. Or maybe you might think it's your inner thoughts, but then you realize, actually, what about my relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator? So either way, the whole idea is you find what's best for you. Well, if you go through this 30 minutes, all I ask is 30 minutes of your time. And going through the whole communication strategies. If you like these kind of gems that we're picking up, rooted and grounded in the Quran and Sunnah, connecting revelation to reality, then I think I would strongly recommend you check it out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So one thing I think I forgot to mention in the beginning, it's I think better late than never. So a little bit background about Brother Muhammad. He's a communication expert, as a public speaker as well. Some of you know what TEDx events as well. He conducted 2 of them in Brampton. This is as far as I know, and he's done many other community works as well. So actually, when he came to me first, I think that one of his strong points, and not only communication but public speaking as well. So there are a lot of interesting things we can learn from him, especially when it comes to communication. And we have put down together this 12 weeks session for you to improve your communication. And I hope you will find it useful. May Allah accept it from us and from you. And until we see you next time, we say Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.